What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to episode number 34 of Take This. We are live on YouTube once again, Tuesday night. Thank you for joining us on a little bit of an off day. Well, not really, off schedule. We are off schedule. Griff, how are you?
I'm good, man. How was your holiday, your Christmas over the weekend and all that?
So good. So I'm at Christmas, right? And it's a good time. Like, great time. Spent it with my grandpa, my aunts, uncles, cousins, whatever. So my grandma, just a little bit of a TMI, whatever, personal stuff. My grandma passed away, I want to say like 3 or 4 years ago, right? And is like, kind of scared, like, for my grandpa's like health, trying to make sure he's all right, whatever. So fun fact, he started dating this woman like about maybe like a month or two ago. So I mean, on a healthy, moving on, whatever. Anyway, so this new woman he's seeing is apparently like the aunt or related to Aiden Hutchinson. I don't know if it's like by marriage or like whatever, but he's showing me these pictures he's got on his cell phone of like the two standing together.
So that means her brother or brother-in-law is, his dad, who also plays at Michigan, played at Michigan in his college days.
Absolutely wild.
It's kind of crazy. It's so weird that what a small world.
And
of course, you hate the guy, so it's like.
Well, it's not like I hate him. Like he's good. Like he's you know what I mean. Like, and my grandpa had nice things to say about him.
Could be a future Lion. If the Lions are at number 2.
Well, exactly. And the interesting thing to me was, again, just how small of a world it is. But one thing that's interesting, and it brings me back. It kind of like reminds me of when what's his name? When we had Nate Brown on to talk about the Red Wings, and that one episode that we did with him, where he was talking about Peyton Thorne. And how Peyton Thorne, he knew his dad or something, or uncle or whatever it was. And, when he was, I don't know, 20 years, he's like 40 now, right? Or something like that. When he was like 20 years younger, like Peyton Thorne was like 6 or something like that. And Peyton Thorne was running around the grass on like some Illinois football field. And like he was, talking with his dad or whoever he was with. And it was just kind of a crazy story. I was like, holy shit,
Yep.
But it was a good time. Christmas was good. How was your Christmas, Griff?
Good. I mean, got some cool stuff. Got this Red Wings hoodie, which is pretty neat. I got my dad, because I'm in my main fantasy league, the one I got to the playoffs in and got bounced in the first round. Me and my mom both made it to the finals. My mom went to the championship and unfortunately lost in the championship. But my dad got, for Christmas, for me and my mom, he got us jerseys. My mom had Jonathan Taylor, and I had Justin Herbert, who you actually kind of see the jersey in my background a little bit here. But he got us their jerseys because Jonathan Taylor was her rock star, right? Her MVP. And Herbert was probably mine because he played because I had such a rotating lineup at times between it would have been Kamara, but Kamara was out for 4 weeks, and Swift would have been mine, but then Swift was out for the last 4 weeks of the season, and none of my receivers were really an MVP. And George Kittle was great, but again, he was out for 4 weeks at one point. So Herbert was the only dude on my team who was there every single week this year, and aside from maybe 1-2 games, he just was you knew he was good for 20 plus points, and sometimes he'd get you 30 or 40 if you got lucky, right? So I have a Herbert jersey, which is pretty cool because I actually do really like the Chargers and Justin Herbert. Excuse me. As kind of an aside, I've always liked the Chargers. I think they have one of the best jerseys and color schemes and jersey combinations in all of the NFL. It's just a shame they're playing somewhere where no one cares about them in LA. But yeah, I think that team's great. So I'm pretty stoked. I have a Herbert jersey. You'll probably see me wearing it in an episode coming up in the new year. So no, it's a good holiday.
I gave up on my fantasy league, so that's where I'm at, and I never give up.
Well, when you're out of the playoffs, it doesn't matter.
There's no point.
Our league doesn't do our league doesn't do a consolation bracket for third place, although we might next year. But yeah, as soon as I was out, it's kind of nice. I don't have to worry about it anymore. Like, as much as it, I've made money this year. Like, I still profited because I made the playoffs and I was one of the league's highest scorers. And we have a bunch of different ways that you can earn some cash throughout the season. I think I profited. Made like $50 overall. So I was pretty happy with that. But I mean, obviously, it would have been nice to win. I think the winner's pot is closer to like if with what being a high scorer and winning it, it's closer to like 500, which would have been nice to have. But um, I'm not like super super duper sad about it. It's it is just kind of nice to just kind of watch the games now and just watch them, just sit back and enjoy them, and whatever. So I think yeah, I mean, I think some people's championships are this weekend, I know, but like I said, part of me is like when you're done, it's the relief of just being done is kind of nice. So yeah. So Brad, this is that kind of the weirdest week of the year in terms of just like no one. It's probably one of the least productive weeks of the year between this week and last week. The week before Christmas and the week after, because I think everyone's kind of checked out and is coasting until the new year. But I figured with the year coming to an end, this is our first year doing the podcast. Obviously, we started in the summer, so only did half a year's worth of shows. Obviously with some bonus episodes here and there. I figured we do a year in review and look back at all of our spiciest takes and most interesting comments we've made on the show, as well as some of our biggest misses, because I think as media broadcasters slash journalists, if you want to call us that. You're actually a journalist because you like cover.
Barely.
I would not really say I'm a journalist, but even still, I think it's important to acknowledge when you're wrong, because we all like to point out when we're right, but you got to point out when you're wrong too. And we were definitely wrong on some things this year.
But I was right. But I was right. I was always right. I'm just kidding.
Indeed, Brad.
Yeah.
You never missed.
No.
I will say though, you made some ballsy calls this year, and you were right about them.
That is my motto.
Listen to this man.
Go big or go home.
So we'll start out with our very first episode when this show was still called Show Off.
That was fun.
We did our first episode. We talked about baseball and its contract salary issue. We talked about the other issues with the game, universal DH, wild cards, instant replay, robot umpires, things like that. But we really spent a good 15 minutes talking about baseball salaries and contracts and the issues with them, how the CBA is laid out, and how it was probably going to lead to a lockout. That was our first episode. Big hit there because, well, lo and behold, baseball is currently locked out, and unless it gets resolved between now and the end of March or April, whenever they start the season, there will not be baseball, at least at the start of the season next year. So, pretty good prediction early on in terms of us talking, because I think a lot of people probably saw that coming.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was and people
that was in. Go ahead.
But no, the people, it's hilarious because people still think the season's gonna start. Like, people still think that there's gonna be a season next year, and I'm like, doubtful. Like if the MLB season was a player on the injured reserve, it would be doubtful, and it is not, and it would be a 365-day injury, not looking great. So
yeah, I mean,
sorry to be that bleak about it, but that's honestly the best thing the Tigers can hope for.
I kind of agree. I want to think the owners would get their heads out of their asses, and the players as well. Yeah, I do think the owners are
Although
more
to
at
be
fault here
fair,
than the players. But
I don't know the issue because of only because of COVID. I don't know if that will impact like either the owners or the player side. Hopefully, the owners, because I don't think that the players are gonna back down in that. I think like because this contract like system has and the horrible whatever the it has existed since for the last like decade, and I think the players are tired of it, and I think that I don't know, I don't want them to back down. Someone needs to put their foot down.
and hopefully they don't.
Yeah,
And we'll see. But
right.
yeah, I think though we're in a good spot. Like baseball, like I want it to be in a good spot, and I feel like cooler heads have to prevail because like they just had a shortened season because of COVID, got a full
Right.
season this year. I just feel like they can't do another shortened season because of a self-inflicted wound. I
Right.
want to stay positive, but you're right. I mean, with the issues of these, two sides butting heads, I'm worried that they won't come to a resolution and fix the issue. So we'll have to wait and see. But I just thought, hey, we were right out of the gate. Yep, indeed, that the MLB went into a lockout. So, all right, the NFL predictions. So earlier in the year, let me see what episode it was. I believe it was. It was like episode. It was pretty early. It was like episode. Yeah, here it is. Episode 7. Wow, I can't believe it was that long ago. That's crazy.
We're on episode 34.
Episode 7. Yeah. Um, we did a big recap, or preview / prediction show where I kind of took us through each of the divisions, broke down each team, and talked about, where they'd be at, what would be happening, and I would say I was about 60%, maybe I was definitely 50 in terms of what I was correct in. So first of all, the 17 game season, I think I was absolutely correct in that is going to make the season even harder. We have seen an unprecedented amount of injuries, and then on top of that, with the COVID issues, I think maybe it'll be fine next year or whenever this COVID situation gets under control, which who knows when that'll be. But I do think we kind of had said in that episode, 17 games, we were going to see more injuries and more backups playing as starters, and that's absolutely been the case even without COVID. I mean, a lot of players have gone to IR. Half of the Lions are on IR, it feels like. So now let's get into the actual, meat and potatoes of this.
Meat and potatoes.
What we predicted. So I'm just going to kind of go through each division real quick and talk about it. AFC East, I was about 50% right. I had the Bills at 12-5, and the Dolphin and the Jets at the bottom end. Said congrats on a top 5 pick. They're indeed going to get that. My biggest miss was on the Patriots, 100%. I said my note here was, let's see how Mac Jones develops, and said they would go 8-9. They are currently 9-8 or 9-7 right now. I believe. Let me just double check. The 9-6. Sorry, and they're tied with the Bills. So yeah, I think the Bills should still win this division, but I was definitely wrong about the Patriots. They're gonna make a wild card spot, and they're gonna be in the playoffs. So congrats to them. The AFC North. Yeah, I was pretty wrong about basically the entire AFC North. I thought the Browns would win it. I thought the Ravens would be a wild card team. I thought the only thing I was right about is I said Steelers 9-8 with mediocrity at its finest. They're gonna be like 8-8-1, or not 8 and or 7-9-1, or something like that. So it's pretty close on them. I was also very off on the Bengals. I said they were going to be 6-11, and they are the current division leaders in the North. So congrats to them. Um, I'm I think the AFC South, I was so spot on about the AFC South, except for one team, and that was the Jaguars. I said the Titans will probably win this division by a game. I did say on the back of Henry, which was the case up until he got hurt, and even still, they're still doing well, and they have two fairly winnable games to finish. I said they go 12-5, they're 10-5, so they very well could land right on that number. But I also said the Colts would go 11-6 and be one game behind them, and currently in the standings, they're one game behind the Titans. And I said that they would be better than everyone expected, and I thought it would be more so due to Carson Wentz, but it ended up being because of Jonathan Taylor being, an insane man who eats touchdowns for breakfast. And then the Texans, I said we're going to be 1-16. They've actually won 3 games, which is crazy, but they are still really bad. And the biggest miss, though, was easily the Jaguars. I said they would be 7-10.
Yikes.
Yes,
Yeah, well, I mean, we always overestimate Urban Meyer, don't we?
Well, I think I didn't have confidence in Meyer. I didn't think he'd be that bad to fizzle out in year one. And I also thought Lawrence would be better. And I got to tell you, man, he looks mortal. He does not look like he did in his freshman year at Clemson. He looks mortal. And that's not to say, I'm not saying he's a bust. I'm just saying there's some reason for a little bit of concern, I think. Just a little, not a lot. He's he's an amazing talent, and he has the talent to do it. He needs some good development, especially this offseason. He needs to get right and hopefully recover from the Urban Meyer incident.
Yeah. And we all have seen the New York Jets and how a team being terrible at building around your QB can ruin a QB. So well, not really ruin him, but you know what I mean. We've all seen the New York Jets, and we pray for them. So
yeah, I do think yeah, and I think whereas like Wilson is came out of BYU, Lawrence won a national title. I think they'll give Lawrence, he's got more leeway and slack, I think. So all right, moving on. Last AFC division, I had the Chiefs. The Chiefs, I said we're going to be 14-3. They stumbled out of the gate a little bit, but they're going to win their division. Chargers, I said we're wild card contenders and that Herbert would bloom. That did happen. Unfortunately, the Chargers somehow just lost to the Texans. I don't know how that happened. They can still make a wild card, but it's going to be pretty tough. The Chargers are they choke a lot of games, and it's really sad to see because I love the Chargers. But man, if they don't make the playoffs, I would say this year is a disappointment because they had everything they needed to make it to the playoffs and potentially win a playoff game. So, and then Raiders, I said boomer bust season. I lean towards bust. Obviously, with the Gruden situation, they've still done an okay job, but they're right at that. What are they? 8-8? I think. Let me double check. So 8-7. They're tied with the Chargers, but they just I don't know, man. I guess they can still sneak into the wild card as well. I just don't think they do because they're the Raiders and they. All right. That's a new one.
That was the Raiders. I was that was for comedic effect, Griff. That was to make you funnier.
I appreciate it.
You're so welcome.
Broncos.
We all know that this is a comedy podcast.
Indeed, I'm hilarious.
Right. Exactly.
And then the Broncos, while being slightly better than I expected, I said that they're going to be last in this division. You got Teddy Bridgewater, which nothing against the man. I love me some Teddy two gloves, some Teddy touchdown, but he's not enough, and it's a shame because they have really good pieces on that team. They have a great defense. They're one of the top rated defenses, and they have good offensive pieces. They just don't have that quarterback to bring it all together. But when Aaron Rodgers goes there this offseason, they're going to be Super Bowl contenders. So,
Right, exactly.
yeah. NFC East, pretty spot on here. Well, was right about the Cowboys. They are what we thought they were. I said they'd be 10-7. They'll be a little bit better than that. But it's weird because they are the 2 seed, but man, they don't feel like the 2 seed, do they? Like, I know they got 11 wins, but they also have, you get to face the Giants and the football team twice a year, and even the Eagles. Even the Eagles, while they've been better than people have expected, I still don't think are like that good. So, yeah, I mean, I think I was pretty spot on with a lot of them. I probably gave a little too much credit to the Giants, and I was wrong about Jalen Hurts at least this season. I said he would not be very good, but they're 8-7. I predicted them to go 4-13, so good on them. NFC North, I was spot on. Literally almost to a T. Packers, I said, would be 14-3. They're 12-3, and they have the Lions to go against, and I don't know who they're going against this week. Oh, I think it's the Bears. Is it the Bears this week? No, it's the Vikings, I believe. 1 second.
So I want to read you a stat real quick, Griff. All right.
Go ahead. Read me the stat.
Now, this is amazing. Okay. Now, so I'm gonna give you a stat, and I want you to guess which QB it is. All right. I want you to guess,
All right.
and you're gonna do your best. All right. This QB is 56-56 in his career. Like win-loss as starter.
So he's 56-56 as a starter.
56-56 as a starter.
That's 112 games, which comes out to what, like 7 seasons worth of starts?
Just about. Not without. They didn't start They started every game since 2014. I mean 2015.
Yeah, that's literally 7 seasons. Exactly.
Yeah.
112. Good quick maths by me. That's it.
Was drafted in 2012.
Is it Kirk Cousins?
It is Kirk Cousins. Yep, it is.
Sounds right. The definition of mediocrity. In fact, that is what I wrote. That is what I wrote for the Vikings. I said the definition of mediocrity may be a wild card contender, and that's basically what they are. They are in the hunt for a wild card, but they need to it's like the 1 through 6 seed is like decided, and then it's like a bunch of like 8 and 7 teams and 7 and 8 teams fighting for that 7th seed. And I think they hold a few tiebreakers, but like they need some things to go their way to make it into the playoff. So, yeah, I mean, and here's the thing though. I know we kind of bashed him. This season, Kirk Cousins has done very well actually. Like his stat line this year, because I think you and I both agree, QB win and loss is not a QB stat. And I hate that it's used as a QB stat. Because like Justin Herbert's a great example. His, record these 2 seasons, even though he's been one of the best passers in the league in the last 2 years, he won Offensive Rookie of the Year. This year, not an MVP, but definitely like I would say he's in the top 10 of quarterbacks just this year based on his numbers and performance. He throws a few too many picks, but like I would say a good chunk of their losses aren't really on him. It would be on, some of their play calling and game management have been a lot of the Chargers' downfall and just not being able to make field goals.
By the way, I just want to point this out. I want to get this out real quick before I forget. But that stat line is 58, 59, and 2. I misremembered it. Sorry, but
Okay,
that was about
so
Kirk
it's
Cousins.
still,
But
yeah.
anyway, go on back to your high horse, whatever you're talking about.
My high horse. What do you mean by high horse?
I don't know.
Uh, yeah. So if we look at his 20, he's a 67 completion percentage, almost 4,000 yards, 30 touchdowns, and only 7 interceptions. I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty damn good, right? I mean, that is efficient. That is efficient quarterbacking, and that's what you want. The issue is the Vikings. Mike Zimmer's gone after this year. He's just so conservative with his play calling, that it's just like it's so frustrating because they have Justin Jefferson, you have Adam Thielen, you have Dalvin Cook, you have Kirk Cousins. Your defense still has some really good pieces. It's kind of crazy they don't win more, and I feel like with better coaching they probably would, but they are severely restricted by that. And until we'll see. I still don't think very much of them, but maybe with a new coach they could do much better next year. We'll see. Bears, I was spot on with them. I said you've got your QB, but your coach is terrible, and the defense is only getting older. I said they'd go 6-11. They're 5-10 right now, so they're going to be right at that mark. Lions, all I said was, I'm sorry, my love, but it's a bit rebuilding year. And I did say, get your future QB, but we both know that's not happening in this draft because there's not a quarterback worth a damn. But they are going to get a very good lineman, which, getting an elite edge rusher, I don't think people realize how much, like, an elite edge rusher is to the defense what a quarterback is to the offense, because it helps. Just like a good quarterback helps every layer of your offense, a good edge rusher helps every layer of your defense. And we'll talk about that in a bit because we're going to talk some Lions. Um, then NFC South, I said Buccaneers would be good. I missed on the Panthers. I thought Sam Darnold would be much better, and it was looking good. I was ready to. I was like, I put my dick on the table. I was like, I'm so. Oh, I'm a genius. I called this. From the beginning. This was my best. Early season take. The Panthers were going to be at least decent and in a wild card position. And it just, they were 3-0 to start, granted against bad teams, and then it all just fell apart. Then Darnold got injured, and the Cam experiment has been a failure to say the least. It's just, I'm so sad. I wanted the Panthers to be good. I wanted Sam Darnold to be good, but alas, he did not. Saints, I said 7-10. Very well could be around there. I thought for sure. Although I will say they looked pretty good with Jameis Winston to start the season, and I'm very interested to see what that team does next year when he's back and healthy. Because they have pieces. They have a very good defense. So, Saints, you got a shit end of the stick with injuries and stuff. So, still think they're better than even I thought they were going to be. And I think if they had Jameis, we're in a different. This is a different conversation. So, and then Falcons, they're better than I expected. I thought they'd be like a bottom 5 team, bottom 7. But they're technically in a playoff hunt right now. I just still don't think they're very good. And they're kind of right now in just like wallowing in mediocrity because Matt Ryan is just not very good. I hate to say it, they're just not. So, and then finally the NFC West Rams, pretty spot on. I said they'd be 13-4. They're 11-4. They control their own destiny to win the division and get a home playoff game. After that, and I did say when we talked in this show, I did say I'm not going to be too hard on myself for the rest of the NFC West because I said this whole division, I could have flip-flopped these rankings any day because I had Seahawks at 2. That was the biggest miss. They totally collapsed. I thought, Russell Wilson got hurt, and even when he's not hurt, he can't do it all himself. He's good, but no one's that good. Like no one is that good enough to carry a broken team with bad coaching to wins. At least not 11 of them. 49ers, I said would be 10-7, and potentially make a wild card spot. They are right there. I think they also control their own destiny to make a wild card. And obviously the Cardinals are 10-5. It's funny because I just said I literally on the comment said good team, just an insanely tough division, and even then I still predicted them going 8-9. So my prediction, like I said, none of these were that far off. It's just, what a tough division. All right, Brad, do you want to know what our predictions were for the Super Bowl?
Oh, I would love to know. I actually don't want to know. That sounds scary.
Well, you have to know. I predicted Chiefs versus Rams, with Rams getting home field advantage. 2 years in a row, teams getting home field advantage. Right now, that is a totally plausible Super Bowl matchup. It would really depend on, can Stafford and co. go into Lambeau and beat the Packers. Although the Packers love losing NFC Championship games in Lambeau. They made it a yearly tradition. You know who you
You're not
predicted?
wrong. Actually, I don't remember. Wasn't it Rams and someone else? Buccaneers, probably. No, not Buccaneers. No, Rams and Bills. No.
Nope.
Patriots.
No, there's no Rams. You did
Rams. Buccaneers.
That was your NFC.
Okay, my AFC would have been. It had to have been. It wasn't the Chiefs, Chargers, Chiefs. You just gotta be Chiefs.
You picked the Browns.
No, I did not. No, that is so bad.
I love
what is optimism with that optimism? No. Why did I do that?
They're still in like the hunt.
Barely.
They're last. They're last in their division, and yet they're still like in the hunt because
they got no chance. Baker Mayfield has got no
AFC
chance.
South is 2 games apart.
I should have known. I should have known though, because Baker Mayfield is on a life cycle, right? So he's right now. So he starts off with being like underappreciated, right? Like underrated, okay? And then he goes on fucking fire, all right? He goes on fire. He like runs, like, passes the ball for like 810 yards and then goes on some sort of ski trip or whatever. Anyway, then he goes and then he falls to the plate, and then he kind of does this nosedive, and then it's like, like it's usually right before he's like, fuck the haters, like I knew I was the best and I could do all this shit, and then he snowballs into this like this abyss, right? Into terrible, literally ass. Well, he's there right now, and then the next thing he's gonna do is he's gonna be like, oh, fuck the haters again, and it's kind of on this never-ending cycle where he does good and then bad and then good and then bad. So this is just his terrible year, a very inconsistent QB.
Yep.
It's not.
So
it's
that
not
was
great.
that was the NFL rundown, and then here, do you want to hear? So our Week 1 overreactions. We had a few.
I wanted Matthew Stafford to win the Super Bowl.
So far, looking pretty good. I had 2 overreactions. I said the Bengals are going to be good. They're leading their division currently. So I would say that is true. Like, they're good. They're just a little inconsistent, but good. But I did say the NFC East will be way better than we thought. And that's kind of true. Like, it depends on what you mean by way better. The Cowboys are very good. The football team is not as good as I thought they'd be. The Eagles have surprised me a lot. The Giants are the Giants are, the Giants. So right. I don't know. That one wasn't too bad. I thought for Week 1 overreactions, I think we're pretty good. I think not too hot takey, but pretty good.
Mine was a hot take. Man, the thing that bothers me the most about Matthew Stafford is everyone everyone in Detroit is always like, yeah, we knew he was a good QB. And like, he just broke this record for like 50,000 yards, fastest to do it. And I'm like, yeah, but like when you have an arm like Stafford does, and you have good receivers around you, like, yeah, you're gonna, and he's a good QB. It just bugs the shit out of me that we don't know. Like, I still don't think that's Hall of Fame worthy. Like, I still don't think that Stafford should get in the Hall of Fame just because he's the fastest to 50,000, 40,000 yards. No. Like, that's all you know what I mean? Like, he has no playoff wins. He has playoff losses.
You can make the Hall of Fame without winning a chip, like Dan Marino's in the Hall of Fame, and rightfully so. But he's got to win. He's got to have some.
But also at the same time, like, I don't think that Matthew Stafford is in the same like universe as Dan Marino is, you know, or like, you know what I mean? And like back then, football was also just different. I mean, you had a lot more players that ran the ball, and I don't know, you know. But
no, it's definitely different. It's just he can control his own destiny.
Right.
He can win.
Right.
He just needs to. If he can make a good playoff run this year, get to the NFC Championship at the very least, which I think they have all of. You know, he's gonna have to win 2 games to get there. He needs a playoff win, and I think, like,
well, because like it's the same way you measure the Heisman, isn't it?
They're the 4th. Yeah, they might be going against Arizona though, which would be a little unfortunate, but they could definitely do it.
But it's the same way that you measure the Heisman is you measure someone's greatest achievements in the greatest moments of the game. And you know, when it has come to that, Matthew Stafford hasn't showed up. I mean, he beat the shit out of Arizona the one day, didn't he, or something like that, or was that Arizona that beat him?
Well, he got beat by Arizona.
I guess they're in the same division, so they probably played each other twice.
And they beat them the second time,
right?
And they also beat the Buccaneers, but they had some bad.
That's the game. That's the game I've been thinking about is the Buccaneers win. That was probably Matthew Stafford's biggest of the season.
That one, I think the Cardinals won because
that's true. The Cardinals were hot at the time.
Games. Yeah, whereas like people were starting to doubt, like, hey, is Stafford gonna do what he did in Detroit and choke away games in December? And then he didn't. He won a big game, and now, again, he has the chance to put himself as to winning a division. I think winning a division would be huge for him and his legacy, and then again, playoff wins. So we will see. All right, let's talk about college football predictions. So looking back, I mean, Brad, we were just. Everyone was just wrong about Clemson.
Yeah, unfortunately.
We were so wrong on
Clemson, you know,
I
don't know how to feel about Clemson, like, because I know they'll be good again. Like, we know that, obviously. Like, they have the recruiting metrics to win. They're allowed to have an off season, you know, and they weren't even that bad. They just weren't Clemson. They weren't even that bad. They still won what, like 8 or 9 games? Like, they were still like a decent team, you know? Like by any metric, if Clemson's season this year was absolute garbage, then Michigan's season for the last 10 years has been absolute duster dank, whatever the hell.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Because Clemson did not have a bad season. They didn't win the ACC for the first time in like, I think it's been like 4 years since they.
It wasn't fun either.
Right. Well, you know, but they didn't have Trevor Lawrence. They had like, you know, a new QB. I think I could be wrong. He might be a freshman. I'm not sure, but still, you know, they're on kind of they got, you know, a good recruiting class coming in next year, and so there's things to like about that. You know who we were both wrong about? Jim Harbaugh.
Who's that? Oh yeah, 100%. I was wrong about him at the beginning of the year, and I was wrong about him during the year. And in my defense, can you blame me?
No, I didn't know what to think.
I was really on the train, and you know, those first games, you know, they beat Washington, but Washington turned out to be, you know,
garbage.
So I wasn't really impressed by that, and you know, they won some of their Big Ten games, but again, none of those were like super insanely impressive opponents, I don't think. And then they got to Michigan State, and then they lost. And I was like, it's the same thing. It's just like every year, and we're going to lose to Ohio State now, and blah, 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 blah. And So like I don't think.
So here's my thing real quick.
I don't
So
think you can blame me, but like it's definitely like I'm glad he proved me wrong, and props to him. And I'll admit I'm wrong, and I'm happy to admit I'm wrong.
So a few games, I think this was at the time that Michigan was either like 4 or 5-0. I couldn't remember, right? And they looked very vulnerable, and it was very alarming that Jim Harbaugh was out here running the ball and running for like 300 yards when that's like he was playing like it was 1902, out here, just like out here running every single time, whatever it was. And Cade McNamara did not look great. He kind of looked like deja vu of Shea Patterson, and it was a little bit scary for people. And that's the thing. And Michigan was being hyped up by all this media, and they still are. But all this media, Joel Klatt and people were in love with them, as they usually are. And I mean, it was the Minnesota game. I can't remember. It was either week 1 or week 2 of 2020 when I heard on an ESPN broadcast that this is the best Michigan team that Jim Harbaugh has had. They said the same thing in 2019, and I remember this very vividly. But when I keep hearing that, and I keep hearing it, it's just so hard to give Michigan that edge, and I was so resilient to give them the benefit of the doubt because what have they done before? Now, and I remember this too because you actually ended up. I ended up believing in Michigan before you did, even though Michigan had lost to Michigan State. My Sparty beat Michigan still, and they ended up losing to Michigan State. They were, but it was in the games that followed that made me sort of believe that Michigan was a better team than Ohio State. And for one, it was because Ohio State had not played a single good team since Oregon. And I mean, we've all seen when teams we think they're too good walk into a game and they end up getting their ass kicked. We saw that happen with Georgia when they lost to Alabama, and everyone was hyping up, oh, they got this great run defense, whatever. Well, it doesn't help that no team can run the ball against them because they got the 95th best running back in the country or whatever. They're playing Vanderbilt and people are like, hooray, good job, whatever. I don't care about that game. Anyway, so to finish my point, I thought that Michigan really impressed me between Michigan State and Ohio State. They really started kicking it into gear. They started to both throw the ball.
That Michigan State loss galvanized them because everyone told them they were cooked, and they took an us against the world approach. And even if it's a little bit manufactured, if it works, it works. They did the thing that I think a lot of that Ohio State and Michigan State do so well. They had I don't know, but I'm sure they did things like the clock in the locker room that counts down to the Ohio State game, putting up messages of things people said about them, playing audio of things the other coaches have said about them, just different shit that, lights a fire under them. They finally played it like it was them against the world, and it worked out pretty damn well.
The one thing, and I don't know how I feel about this thought. I've still been processing how to feel about it. I'm not really sure. But I feel like it's worth saying. So I don't know if I still believe in Jim Harbaugh, to be honest. I think that it's enough for him to stay at the program. Because I don't know. Because think about how Michigan State performed in the Big Ten this year. And how they just kind of I did not think that Michigan State was a 10-win team. Okay. And they beat Penn State because Penn State is god-awful, and James Franklin does not know his shoe from his hand.
Now, aren't they?
But what's that?
Michigan's an 11-win team now, aren't they?
Well, and that's the thing, right? I did not think that Michigan State was a 10-win team. And Michigan won 11 games. And I think that it sort of speaks to the difficulty of the Big Ten. I think, in a way, like, it's hard. I don't know where Michigan is going from here. Like, I think that it certainly boosted their ability to recruit. I think that it boosted their performance in the way that people view them, because they are actually in the college football playoff. They're actually doing things that people have said for years that they can't do. And that's important, and that's impressive. Unlike Texas, who's like, we're back, and then goes 6-6 this year, or whatever the hell they were at.
We're back.
It was like 7-5 season, or 5-7. Was it? I think it was 5-7. Didn't they not make a bowl game? Like, that's insane. That's insane to me. So yeah, they go 5-7. And so, like, when you compare, like, Michigan to teams like Texas, and teams that, like, think that they're better than others, and I certainly think that, like, Notre Dame is one of those teams that will be helped by being in a conference. I think that being in a conference for Notre Dame would legitimize their, program. But it's just so, like, I don't know what to think or where to go from here, I think, is my point. Like, I know that people are, like, high on Michigan, and I don't know if they'll beat Georgia, if they have a chance to beat Georgia, but I think that it's sort of,
they got a chance.
And Michigan was impressive this season, but I just don't know that Jim Harbaugh replicates it. Does that make sense? Like, I don't know that he does this again. And I don't know that I don't know that I have the confidence in him to do this again. And I don't know that, like if Jim Harbaugh goes out and wins 8 games next year, would you throw him, to the wolves? Like, would you say, get out of here? Like, he won a Big Ten championship, and that was impressive, but was the Big Ten not on a down year?
I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
Ohio State is one of the best, probably the second best program in all of college football.
Right.
In the last decade. And even currently, like, their program, again, not the team this year, but their program, their recruiting, facilities, pedigree, powerhouse level. Again, Michigan usurped them this year, and that's good. That's step one, right? I think, beating them this year, that's your goal every year, right? Like, that realistically, like,
I guess at this point where Ohio State is, if you beat Ohio State, you go on.
Other than Michigan State and Penn State, which, like, if Michigan has beaten both of those teams, at least a decent amount of times, right? Like, they're like 500 is in the Harbaugh era, or like just below or above. I think they're just below with Michigan State and just above with Penn State. I think it's like a 1-game difference, which that needs to be better. But, like, you've shown you can beat that team, whereas Ohio State you beat one time, which is this year. I think, the fact that they beat Ohio State this year, I mean, I'm not going to downplay that. That is big. And if he here's the thing, if he wins a natty this year, if he only wins 8 games next year, he won't be fired, but he's kind of right back to that short leash, and he's back to the hot seat where he kind of like where he was at the start of this year. But I think if you win a national title, you're given leeway.
I think if he wins a national title, like, I think that you put him on the board. Like, I think that is just Hall of Fame worthy. I mean, Lee Corso won a national title. He's the last person.
He's got to be Georgia and Alabama to do it too.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably one of the. You had to beat Ohio State, Georgia, and Alabama to win a national title. Like, that's a tough gauntlet.
It's tough to win a college football championship no matter who you are. I think that, like,
unless you're Alabama.
Well, and I think that part of that is I don't know, like, again, like, I want to see teams beat Ohio State in their best year, right? Like, in Ohio State's good year, I want to see a Michigan team or a Michigan State team beat them, right? Like, I think that is sort of my thing. Like, that's why I never understood.
Even though they lost to Oregon, they were ranked 3. Like, it's not. Is it their best year ever? No. But, like, if Ohio State won that game,
and this is a bad year for Ohio State, and they still only had 1 loss or 2 losses.
But it wasn't even that bad of a year.
Right.
Like, right, wrong, or otherwise, Stroud was a Heisman finalist, right?
Right.
They have 3 NFL wide receivers, and so it's like, and this is another argument of why I don't want the playoff expanded, even though I know it's going to. But that game in November. That is whoever won that game goes to Indy and goes to the playoff. Whereas if there's an expanded playoff, that game is now just playoff seeding. That's all it turns into. Because
Right.
both those teams are getting in with the records they had going in.
Right.
Like Michigan wasn't going to fall outside like the top 8, top
Right.
10, whatever the number of teams that get in. So that's
So I
that's
see
inside.
your
But
argument
still.
there, and I think that depending on
But Ohio
who,
State, if they win that game, they're the 2 seed. They're the 2
Right.
seed instead of Michigan.
and like
So
And so I get what you're saying, I guess, because like it now makes it easier, I think, for teams, like because and I want to throw this point in there about like beating Ohio State at your best, because something that's always bugged me is that Michigan State fans, and I don't even like to do this. I don't even like to compare the two. Like I don't think that Michigan needs to be good if Michigan State gets to where they want to go. And I've said this before. But it bugs me when Michigan State fans were out here like rooting for Iowa to beat Michigan, right? Like you know what I mean? Like even though that wasn't gonna happen, like they're still rooting against Michigan. And yeah, like I don't want Michigan to win as someone who's like a Michigan State like fan, right? Like I don't want Michigan to win, but at the same time,
we're just become insufferable.
I don't really care. Does that, you know what I mean? Like, I don't like to compare Michigan State and Michigan anymore, since Michigan State has won the last 10 of the last 14.
I'll do you one better. I root for Ohio State and Michigan State every week they're not facing us, because when I beat them, I want them to be. I want the win to be as valuable as possible.
Right.
And Michigan State. Obviously, we have. Friends and family, like I got people who care about the school. I don't want them to be miserable. I might not like the school, but I like my friends and family. And it's, my grandfather, who, I love him dearly. He's an Ohio State fan. He's born and raised in Ohio. Yeah. So even though I hate Ohio State's guts, it's kind of like, well, at least he gets that, and I can be happy in that, right? I can be happy for them, even if I don't like the school. So, that's always been my mindset. And, obviously, once Ohio State gets to the championship, then I'm like, yeah, fuck you. I hope you lose, because whatever. But you're right. I'm not I watch the playoff because it's entertaining, not because I'm like, I need to see Ohio State lose,
Right.
So, yeah, no, but yeah. To make a long story long, yeah, we were wrong about Jim Harbaugh, and I'm glad to have been wrong. Another team. This was another week 1 overreaction hot take. I wasn't super far off, but it feels like I need to say this was a miss on a prediction. Iowa.
You actually, I would say that you loved Iowa. Like you were in I know that they ended up making it to the Big Ten title game, but that's not really saying much considering that they were the number 3 team in the country in week 7 or something like that, and then they just fell off a cliff.
The big win over Penn State, but that game kind of showed where they were mortal because they needed Sean Clifford to be hurt. Yeah, I thought. I thought they have such a great home field advantage.
Right.
They're, the defense is very stout. But
they did not lose a game until they lost to Purdue. They ended up losing to Purdue 24-7. Then the next week they threw up another 7 points against Wisconsin and just died at the Hill, and then got murdered in the. So I don't think that it was how they lost. It was how they lost.
They're gonna win the Big Ten. I predicted, my hot take was they could win the Big Ten, and if they win the Big Ten, it was obviously they go to the playoff. And no, they fell apart completely. So I was wrong, but I wasn't the worst, but it definitely wasn't I'm not giving myself credit for that.
No, and their defense was so good, but they were relying on so many turnovers.
Right. All right, let's talk about what we were right on, though, in college football. Bama. We both predicted Bama making the playoff, but we also both predicted Bama looking a little more mortal this year. And I think that's definitely the case. They lose to A&M They lose to Auburn. They almost lose to Auburn in the Iron Bowl. Obviously, they looked very Bama-esque in their SEC title game against Georgia. Now, here's my thing about that game. As much as I wanted Georgia to win because it would have helped Michigan in their seeding. I think it's I'm going in with the impression of Georgia wanted to win that game and Alabama needed to win that game because Georgia was making the CFP regardless. So I think, if Michigan loses and Bama's going to beat Cincy, we all know it. So if Michigan loses and it's Georgia Bama again, now both teams need to win, and I would be curious to see what would happen there.
The interesting thing for me, about Bama, real quick, is that I don't even and this is, again, I don't know if I've mentioned this to you, but I've talked about this before specifically. I think that even though going in, right, Alabama needed to win to make the playoff, I still think that even with a head-to-head victory, and people will lose their mind over this, but even with that head-to-head victory, I would still put Georgia at number 1. I know that they had to do it because Alabama beat them, but there's no chance that. And again, I know we talked, and I talked about. I think who I talked about this with was what's his name? Jesus Christ, we had him on a couple of weeks ago. I'm terrible. Evan Birchmore. We had him on a couple weeks ago. I talked to him when you were off, and what happened was and he brought up this point that Georgia's not as great as they thought they were, but I still think, and I think maybe more so from matchup wise, because Georgia could beat. I don't think that Michigan has a chance against Georgia, but they do against. But I don't know. Alabama, maybe they.
I think someone made. Well, I'll save what I want to say because we have them in Who You Got. I'm going to talk about it then. So, all right. And then
Michigan State?
just to round this out, so LSU in the Pac-12. We were right about both of them. We both thought, Ed Orgeron. See ya. Pac-12, not very good. See ya. We were right about that. Michigan State, Mel Tucker. I mean, I think he's going to be better than we think, and you were, the big believer. And boy, how right you were. I mean, they have a chance to be in. At
the same time, I really did not see it coming. Mel Tucker being as good as he was.
Just you being a hopeful fan.
Well, yes. So I wasn't sure because the only thing that I had to go off on really was that Michigan State beat Northwestern, and they were good last year, but they beat Northwestern last year, and they beat Michigan, and that's really all I had to go on entering the season. I didn't know who this team's running back was. First play of the season, Kenneth Walker does a 75-yard touchdown run. Dude, I had no. That's the first time I was introduced to Kenneth Walker III. Had no idea who he was. He showed me who he was then, and he just blew my mind out of the water. But I had no idea. I was just spitballing ideas. I took the only reason I made that Alabama Texas A&M prediction is because I picked one random away game that Alabama could possibly lose, and that was the one I took.
Yep.
So it was just one random away game.
That was your big hit. But hey, man, if you're right, you're right. So I think overall, I think we did okay this year. We missed a few, and it's funny because the things we missed on were like Michigan and Harbaugh. I don't think it was that bad, but we were right about a lot of things, and makes me confident in our analysis as podcasters who cover this stuff. So,
real quick, Griff, before we move on. So in our show sheet, we have a huge thing in the Lions, a full, almost a page long. I would love.
It's not going to take long.
So
I would
no.
want to talk. My notes so I can formulate my thoughts.
Perfect, absolutely. Because I was going to say we could either do it now or we could do it next week. Whatever you want to do.
What's up?
We're making decisions on the fly. Did you want to do that now or did you want to do that this week? Because I have one major question for you.
Well, how about this? Ask me the question, and then I can go from there.
Perfect. So do you? Because I was critical of Dan Campbell. All right. I was very critical of Dan Campbell being, and the only major reason why is because the Lions hired Brad Holmes as GM, right? And he's done like draft stuff before, but that's mainly his expertise was draft things. And Dan Campbell's a rookie head coach who hasn't called plays before. He's a rookie head coach who hasn't called plays before, but I liked the Brad Holmes selection more than I liked the Dan Campbell selection. Now, do you still have
a college scout who was on the Rams and helped draft Aaron Donald, potentially one of the best defensive players?
Well, and he's had good draft success. Like, I would compare Brad Holmes's like draft and the ability to evaluate talent to maybe Steve Yzerman. I don't know if it's that elite, but if we're transferring between hockey,
that good though.
Perfect.
Because he's so far
he's good.
Just looking and
and Penei Sewell's amazing.
Year one, great start, and even his mid and late round picks, and we can talk about that in a minute. But
so how would you grade? How would you grade your faith in Dan Campbell? Because for me, it's like a 1 or a 2 from a scale of 1 to 10.
Wow, that low, eh?
I would put him at a 1 or 2, highest maybe 3.
So this kind of. I'm giving him this if I'm giving him this benefit of the doubt, which is some of his decision making has been. I don't think he's making decisions to lose intentionally. I don't think any NFL coach will actually do that on purpose, except like last year, the last game of the year when Doug Peterson like very clearly intentionally was trying to lose that game for the Eagles to get a better draft.
That was so bad.
Last game of the year. That is probably one of the few times. I don't think a coach actively goes out and loses throughout a season to help a draft pick. I can't. There's 32 of these jobs. You can't do that, right? Because you lose fan faith, right? So I don't think that's it. But I think some of his decision making, because it's been poor, like he's made some very bad game management decisions between the double timeout fiasco, going for it at times he shouldn't, kicking field goals at times when he should have gone for it. Like he's trying to be Mr. Analytics, but he's not applying it at the right times when you think about game script. So if he's making some of these decisions because of the talent on the field, and next year, which they should have significantly better talent on both sides of the ball, I think he can be a lot better than he was. And assuming that decision-making improves, my faith remains steadfast at like a 5 or 6 because he is a very good motivator. He's been A+ in that, right? Locker room leader. He gets guys to play for him. And I know every coach does that, but his is something more. The fact that he can keep guys playing so hard in the NFL when they're 2-10-1 or 2-11-1 team, that's not easy to do. And he keeps the energy up. They clearly he garners the respect of every player in that locker room. That's important, and he does that very well and deserves props for that. And he's also getting the most out of guys who are, undrafted free agents, and that's also great due to the coaching staff that he helped build, and he deserves credit for that as well. It is the decision making that has been his downfall. When he's gone for it, when he's not gone for it. It's improved slightly in these last month, but it's still not great. But if it's better next year, and we'll know those first 4 games next year, that will tell me my confidence will either shoot up to an 8-9 or it will drop down with you to a 1-2. I would that's where, but currently I'm holding it right down the middle until we see what happens. Like I said, the first 4 games, the September football games next year will tell me where he's at. And
I mean,
this year was him.
all right, Griff, welcome back. We had technical difficulties. Ha ha ha. What a time.
Hey, you know what? Live shows, it happens. We roll with it. We're back.
I'm switching internet providers, so that's the news. That is the news. Ring a ding ding.
Owed you a little bit.
I'm gonna be like, yo, I need a refund.
We'll obviously clean it up and post for all the video.
Right.
So anyway, all right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do our deep dive into the Lions and their outlook for next year and onward. We're gonna do that next week. Because I do have some very interesting things to say about that and talking about what they have and what they have to look forward to and why. I'll give you a little sneak preview why I think they could be playing meaningful games in December next year and fighting for the division title. And not a wild card spot because, again, sneak peek, I think our division is going to be really bad next year. The NFC North might be the worst in all football.
Haha, Aaron Rodgers.
We'll talk about it next week. Well, that's the big if. Right? So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about it next week. Let's go into who you got. We got bowl season. This is the prime of it. We got the New Year's Six bowls and as well as, our NFL picks. So let's start out. I had to put this on here, Brad. We got the Cheez-It Bowl, Clemson versus
perfect.
Iowa. And the reason I put this on here is I don't know if you saw it, but Dabo Sweeney wearing his giant Clemson orange tracksuit, like solid orange, quarter zip with the solid orange sweatpants, baby. What an iconic look. Brad, who you got and why?
So I got to pick Iowa State. Now, Clemson's a 2.5-point favorite, at least according to the sports book that I was on. But
yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, so Iowa State is a good team. And I know Clemson's a good team. They're a decent team, right? But Iowa State they could be surprising at times. And so I think that there may be a chance that they surprise more people in this game.
Yep, agree. Well, I don't agree.
You disagree, Griff.
I do. I'm just going to say, it's Clemson, man. I can't say no to Dabo Sweeney in that beautiful outfit he was wearing today. No, but I mean, Iowa State, they're a team that throughout the year I said was better than most people gave them credit for. But I think Clemson just wins this. I'm just gonna close my eyes and make the pick. So, all right, we got MSU versus Pitt. Who you got?
So I got to take Michigan State. And there's a couple reasons why. All right. Now, losing your quarterback is a lot harder to deal with than losing your running back, no matter how good each player is. Just losing your quarterback's a bigger deal. Now, that's sort of my rationale, right? So the big thing I think for me really is that both defenses are awful. They're just bad. Pass defense specifically, and Michigan State's defensive coordinator Scotty Hazelton had said that Pitt's backup QB, I don't know who it is, reminds him of Kenny Pickett. So I'm not sure what grain of salt to take that with. But I will say that both defenses are bad, but specifically in passing. Pitt is number 110 in pass defense. Michigan State's number 130. So we're kind of comparing a rock to a seahorse, whatever. I'm just coming up with random stuff. I don't know what I'm saying. But anyway, so I just think that this is kind of going to be a shootout, and I think that Peyton Thorne can rise to the level to beat Pitt. And Jaden Reed is back. Jalen Naylor is back. You got players coming off with injuries. You're losing your best running back, but you're getting back your two wide receivers. That is going to be big for Michigan State, and I think Michigan State wins this game.
No, in not so many words, yeah. Pitt has lost their best player in Kenny Pickett. And while MSU did lose their best player in Walker, I think, Thorne is still going to be very good. You got Speedy Naylor, you got Jalen Reed. They're all going to have great games, and they're going to bomb the Pitt secondary. and I think MSU will do enough. And I think Tucker knows how important this game is. 11 wins in year 2 and that 11th win being a New Year's Six bowl is it's huge.
That's
So
massive. Yeah.
no, I think Michigan State wins this. They're going to come out playing with their pants on fire, and I hope they do. Genuinely, like I said, I want, like we mentioned earlier in the show, the better MSU is, the better it feels when we beat you. Right? It feels like every year Michigan beat MSU is when MSU was in a down year. I want to beat you when you're in an up year, and winning this game, it gives you momentum in the next year, makes your program better next year, and if we can beat you next year, that win will be all the better. So, I think Spartans win it. All right, Rose Bowl, Utah versus Ohio State. Ohio State will be without.
I was just gonna change my pick.
No, wait, hold on. You don't know. Let me. Ohio State.
Though I know they'll be without Garrett Wilson
and Chris Olave, 2 of their 3 starting wide receivers, will not play.
They will also be without left tackle Nicholas Petit-Frere and defensive tackle Haskell Garrett.
Oh yeah.
So I know the receivers are the ones
probably be a late first, early second rounder. He's very good. Although Aiden Hutchinson did not make him look very good in his last game. But yeah, so Ohio State without a good chunk of players, but Brad, who you got?
You know what? Screw it. Actually, you know what? Is Ohio State the underdog in this game?
I cannot imagine they are. They're probably favored. Even
I saw just now. I saw a spread.
CJ Stroud.
I just saw a spread that said that Michigan. I mean, sorry. What am I saying? I just saw a spread that said that Ohio State is a 4.5 point underdog. Let me see. Hang on. Let's play.
Ohio State is a 5-point favorite according to the Action Network.
Okay, then never mind.
Is my go-to.
Then never mind, Griff. You know what? I want to know who you got first.
I got Ohio State. I mean, they're better. They're like we mentioned earlier. They're one of they're a top 3 program, top 2 program in the entire country. They are, and yeah, they're without several starters, but that team is so good. I wouldn't be surprised if whatever sophomore or freshman is on the bench comes up and plays and blows the doors off of Utah. And Utah's no schlub, but I think they win it easily.
Okay, yeah. So I think that it said that the spread consensus pick. What the hell does that mean? 4.5 point favorite? Utah is, or Utah minus 4.5? Is that what people are picking? Is that for the spread? That's for the spread. We're just picking them. I want to take Ohio State. Yeah. I gotta take Ohio State. If I'm just picking both teams, I would take Utah to cover that spread, but I would not take.
Insane.
What's that?
I would say unless the spread's insane,
right.
We do the spread for
the regular season
college
stuff like
games.
That. Right.
This is, I'm not doing spread on the Orange Bowl. Game's
right.
gonna, at least I hope it is, close as hell,
Yeah. And right, and I mean Utah's a good team, but if I'm just picking them, I have to take Ohio State. I can't bet against Ryan Day right now. I mean, Utah looks good. They look good, and I want them to win, but I don't think they will.
No, they're going to be fine, and they're pissed. Remember, the last thing that happened to them was a loss to Michigan. They're going to take some aggression out. So
right.
All right, Sugar Bowl, pour some sugar on me, baby. Who you got? Yeah. Baylor versus Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. I gotta take Ole Miss, and I'm just gonna say that for Matt Corral. And this is honestly, I don't know much about Ole Miss or much about Baylor, but I don't know. It seems like, is Matt Corral playing? Holy shit! Hold on, I didn't even look that up.
He is. He is one of the few quarterbacks that is actually playing.
Because I couldn't remember if he's if I remember him playing, but anyway, yeah. So I would I don't know. I would take Ole Miss.
One of the few.
And I think that part of that may have to do that he has something to prove. I don't know if that has something to do with Ole Miss winning this game.
Yeah,
but it could.
Kenny Pickett also has shit to prove, and I still don't understand why
he was. I mean, to be fair, Kenny Pickett was somehow
he's got everything to put out there. He could, And the thing is, he's no offense to Michigan State fans, he's going against a bad Michigan State secondary. He could go out and bomb them, and it would, it's more stuff on tape and it's more stuff to impress scouts. I don't understand Kenny Pickett not playing, but whatever. Like, I get the injury thing, but he's going to be a second rounder. Well, no, he'll be a first rounder, but still, I just think him playing makes a lot more sense. But that's just me. So, I think Ole Miss for the same reason. I don't trust Baylor. I don't know. I just don't trust Baylor. And like you said, Matt Corral's got something to prove. He's trying to improve his draft stock, make some more money, and get drafted. So yeah, give me Ole Miss. All right. I'm gonna get this one out of the way. Cotton Bowl, Cincinnati versus Alabama. We both have Alabama.
Alabama.
Let's be real. They're gonna blow.
And I don't know that. Yeah.
And congrats for getting here. See you later. Bye.
Yeah. Well, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's a blowout.
Oh no, I wouldn't either. Which will just show, hey, and it will just add to the number of blowouts between the 1 and the 4 seed. Do you know how bad the matchups between the 1 and 4 seeds have been in the last 5 years? Like, it's been, I think the point margin between the 1 versus 4 seed is like hundreds of points at this point.
I know.
I'll see if I can find the stat while we're doing this. But yeah, give me Bama. All right. This is probably the most important game this week. Michigan against Georgia.
You think you got Michigan in this game? Oh my God.
At the Orange Bowl. Oh yeah. No, let me explain. God. Georgia is I think it was 2016 Michigan. And here's my thinking. I want to find, someone had a great tweet about it, and I thought it was perfect and perfectly explained it. You know who Georgia reminds me of? Michigan football under Jim Harbaugh prior to this year. Beat up on weaker teams in their conference to build a superiority complex only to get exposed soundly in their biggest game. Very 2018 Michigan. This is a winnable game. So, do I expect it to be easy? God, no. But I think Michigan's defense is slightly better than Georgia's defense. I don't think Georgia's defense is the world beaters we thought. Now, granted, that was against a very good Alabama offense, but Michigan has shown they have some level of offensive competency, right? I also think the Michigan running game, they're going to Blake Corum's healthy. You have Hassan Haskins healthy. Cade has been everything you've needed him to be. I think Michigan can do enough to win this game, but it's going to be close. It's not going to be Ohio State. They're going to have to fight. And the biggest thing is they are going to have to make next to no mistakes.
So
zero. No turnovers. You cannot have a single turnover. And this team's resilient. I think they have every chance to win this game, but they're going to have to really earn it. So we'll see. But I'm picking them because I'm going to be confident in them. I've undercut them at every step of the way this year and picked against them every step of the way. I'm going to pick them for now because I do think this game is winnable.
So
I'm going to ride with my team.
So the over-under right now is at 45.5. Would you take the over or the under?
45.5. What gets me to an over? So like 24-21 gets me to the over. Because 45, you said 45.5?
Yeah.
Or 44.5?
No, 45.5.
You said 44.5?
45. Yeah.
See, that's a bastard. Because I would say 24-21, I could see it. I could also see 27-21 or 27-24.
Right.
Can I see Michigan scoring 4 touchdowns? Or 3 touchdowns and 2 field goals?
I mean, I would take the under. I don't know. Like, Georgia's defense just seems good. And, like, yeah, but at the same time, if it's competitive, like, and that's kind of the thing, right?
That's a really close. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't touch that, but I would lean over. I wouldn't
Yeah.
bet any money on that. That's a scary.
Because the thing
that's
is like
you
usually
need
what
both teams
happens
to score
is
3
is
touchdowns.
football is a very reactionary game, right? Where like if you know, I don't know, like if some team, like if Georgia starts out and their offense is much worse than their defense, but if Georgia goes out and starts scoring points, like Michigan may react with points, like same vice versa, like right, like if Michigan comes out looking strong against Georgia's like defense, like you know, then I don't know, like they might react and score more points, and you kind of feel in the heat in the moment. Like that's kind of what happens, like with football games, is that they tend to, like, they don't always end in a blowout if it gets stay competitive. So if it's close, then you know, otherwise I don't know, we're looking at 45-0. But
Yeah.
who knows? That's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough to
So-
imagine like Michigan not staying in this game, but at the same time, like I don't know.
I think it'll be close, and I think I think it's really going to come down to the first team that can get to 20 will be
Right.
the winner, most
Right,
likely.
right.
It's that first team, whoever can score, 3 touchdowns.
Right.
Yeah, because like the thing with that over, do I think both teams can score 3 touchdowns and then one of them scores a fourth, or one of them kicks 2 field goals for the over?
Right.
Yeah, that I don't hate the under there, but I wouldn't touch it because who knows this game. I think this game it's such a question mark because like how legit is Georgia? What can Michigan do against, they went against a good team in Ohio State, but I think we both said Ohio State's defense was suspect, right?
Right.
So can they stop it? And can Michigan stop the Georgia offense? So we will see. Looking forward to it. That's going to be a great game to watch. Hopefully it's not over by halftime and I can actually watch the whole thing. So
Right.
all right, on to the NFL. Brad, we got our 1 p.m. time slot. This is like the prime time game in my opinion, the best game in the 1 p.m. time slot. Huge AFC playoff implications here. Chiefs at Bengals. Brad, who you got? Why you got them?
I gotta take the Chiefs. I just gotta take the Chiefs. I mean, Patrick Mahomes looks great.
Yeah.
Chiefs are the better team. Bengals are, I never know if they're gonna be good, if they're gonna be bad, if they're gonna score 37 on the Lions or whatever they're gonna do. So I gotta take the Chiefs. Gotta take the hot hand.
I'm gonna take the Bengals.
Yeah,
I know I'm preach up down theory, but I think the Bengals stay hot. They're trying to win that division for the first time in forever. The Chiefs, they're just so weird to me. I know they're back. They've won like 7 in a row. And, Patrick Mahomes is obviously very good, but there's just still something about the Chiefs I do not trust. I still think there's some big question marks for them because they're not the Chiefs of old. They're obviously a playoff team. I just don't think they're the powerhouse they were last year and 2 years ago. Something is just, they've been, I don't want to say figured out. Patrick Mahomes is still an elite quarterback, but they've been, they've been schemed against better now, and they can't do what they used to. So they got to do things a little bit different to earn their wins, and that's a little tougher for them now. So yeah, I'm gonna go Bengals and just close my eyes and hope. Plus, Bengals. I root for my other big cat teams, especially a team like the Bengals, who've been in the basement like Detroit has been for so long. And I love Joe Burrow. That dude's just electric. I'd love to have a guy like Joe Burrow on the Lions. It's so good. I love the dude. Anyway, 4:30 primetime slot because it's the Cowboys. They're always in the primetime slot because Fox loves the Cowboys. But this is the game of the week though, because this is 2 powerhouses in the NFC currently. We have the Cowboys at the Cardinals. Big implications here. Cowboys are the 2 seed. They're fighting for the 1 seed, hoping Green Bay slips up. And the Cardinals, they've clinched a playoff spot, but they're still in the running to try and upset the Rams and win their division and get home playoff rights. So a lot at stake here in this game. Both teams have plenty to play for. Brad, who you got?
It is so hard to pick the Cardinals right now. Like, it is just so hard. Like, they just look so bad. So I got to take the Cowboys here. The Cardinals, though, like, I don't know. Like, I was rooting for them. I was like, Arizona. I was like their biggest fan.
I'll say this. I'm picking I'm picking the Cowboys as well
Mm-hmm.
as you. We're both taking Cowboys. I want the Cardinals to win it though, and I want I've always said I want Stafford to make a playoff run and do well. So I do hope he wins his division. But you know me, I don't like the Cowboys just as a organization. I got nothing against like Dak and all that. But man, I want the Cardinals to beat him. And I think the Cardinals are due for a make-right game, but Cliff Kingsbury is not good at winning games in December. So we'll see if they can pull their heads out of their asses and get something to work this week. We will see. All right, the homer pick of the week, because I love to talk about my Lions. Lions at Seahawks. Fun fact, Brad, if the Lions if they lose one of their next two games, they have the Seahawks this week and Packers next week. If they lose even just one of those, they lock up the second, at least the second overall pick. That's the lowest they fall to. Obviously, losing both games allows them to get to the one pick easier, but that does require Jacksonville to win another game, and for the Lions to lose out, which not easy. So, Brad, you have the Seahawks.
I do have the Seahawks. Yeah, because I'm a normal
Let me
person.
hear you out, because I'm back and forth on this. But
Yeah, sure.
why you got the Seahawks?
So here's my issue. Seahawks are bad. Okay. Now
Very bad.
the Lions are also bad. Can I read you something real quick? Let's go over the teams that the Lions have played. Do you remember when the Lions were doing their season and they were like, I'm looking at all these L's. Remember the Lions are doing their season, right? It's the beginning of the season. Yep. We're like, okay. Lions could beat the Bears. Okay. The Lions could beat the Bears. They lost 24-14. Lions could beat the Vikings. They lost 19-17. Lions almost beat the Ravens before that. 19-17, lost on the last second field goal. Lions also could beat the Bengals. You know what they did? They lost 34-11. The Lions could beat the Eagles. Ooh, we lost 44-6. Lions, I thought they were going to die by the Steelers, but the Steelers are the Steelers, and they tied them 16-16. The Browns, they should have beat the Browns, but they lost 13-10.
Yep.
They should have beat the Bears. They could have beat the Bears on Thanksgiving, 16-14, on a terrible coaching mistake.
Timeout fiasco.
They could have beaten the Broncos. They lost 38-10. They also, the Falcons are the Falcons. I didn't think they were going to beat the Falcons.
They also could have won that game, but I'm glad they lost.
I'm also surprised that they beat the Vikings. But again, Kirk Cousins is 1-1 against the Lions this year, and that is not very, every season he's been in, he's had a 500 record. So it's very much tracks. And he's the most 500 QB I've ever seen. So, do I think that the Lions could beat the Seahawks? No, not at all. What's the spread in this game? The Seahawks are a 7-point favorite. Do you know how high that is for an NFL game? They are a 77, according to ESPN's Power Index. The Seahawks have a 77% chance to win this game. An NFL game should not have that much of a displacement.
You realize that was the same thing against the Cardinals and the Vikings, though, right?
Yeah. The Lions have probably been a 5-point underdog to every team this season.
Lions are the third best team against the spread.
I'm sure they are, because the spread always hates them. They are always worse than the spread, or better than the spread, because the spread is the worst it could be.
Up to their competition.
Oh my god.
They always play up to their competition, man.
Here's another thing.
Any Lions double digit, you take the points and you run with it.
Here's another thing. The Lions are 0-7-1 on the road. They have no wins.
That's true.
But
them playing at home isn't very helpful because 13 people show up to the games. So
that's true. That's true. That's neutral. Yeah, but anyway, they're 0-7-1 on the road. Seahawks got a big. I gotta say that they got the most impressive. When it comes to NFL fans, they got the most impressive in the NFL. So I don't know if that matters. The Seahawks, it's not like they're playing for anything. They're 5-10, 2-5 at home, but it's the Lions. So I can't. You know me. I can't bet for the Lions unless they're playing the 2016 Browns or whenever they lost every game. So,
Yep. So
who do
I'm
you
gonna take
have?
Seahawks as well.
Oh, okay.
I'm taking
You
the
make me go
Seahawks
on this
because here's
whole
the thing.
thing.
I want the Lions to, as much as I'd like them to win one more game because
Right.
they can afford to. Just lock up the number 2 pick this week and give yourself a chance at the number 1. But lose this week, lock up the number 2 pick, ready to rock and roll for draft season.
Right.
So, all right, Monday Night Football rivalry in the AFC North: Browns and Steelers. Very bitter rivalry. Brad, who you got? Why you got 'em?
Browns. I'm gonna take the Browns. Because the Steelers have just been bad. Like they've just been bad.
Yeah.
Like watching Ben Roethlisberger makes it gives me a migraine. Like just watching him makes my head hurt. It is so. Remember when Ben Roethlisberger was all like, "Oh, everyone's doubting me and they don't know what they're talking about." Yeah, they do know what they're talking about, and they were correct because you fucking suck and you need to get out of the league. But watching the Steelers is just bad.
Yeah, I think.
And plus, I get a freckle every single time that the Steelers lose, and I am better for it.
No, I think I'm gonna take the Steelers, and the
I'm
reason
sure you
why
are.
I know you hate the Steelers.
Oh, I hate the Steelers. I wish that they
Down
would just
theory,
die as
they
an
just got
organization.
shellacked by the Chiefs last week.
Yeah, they did, and they deserved it.
So up down theory, I think they bounce back a little bit. They have been. They have all.
They
of that
have been.
offensive
Yeah,
firepower.
that is a replacement level player.
I know that's the issue. I know.
Dude is 80
Their
years old.
defense is okay, and here's the thing: Baker Mayfield's god awful right now.
Oh,
he's
he is.
hurt. He should not be playing. And yeah, Nick Chubb's great, and he might be able to carry him to a win.
This game is going to be 6-3.
No, it'll have a little more point than that. It'll be 6-3 at the end of the second half, at the end of the second quarter, into halftime, and then somehow the final score will be like 28-24.
God, yeah, probably.
But for now, I'm gonna take the Steelers, just to be contrarian, and I just don't think the Browns are good. They have a good defense, but so do the Steelers, kinda, and I don't trust the Browns' offense at all, even with Nick Chubb. I think they can stop him, and then they have to force Baker to throw, and Baker threw 4 picks last week. Not great. So, give me the Steelers. All right, Brad. That brings us to a great, end of the year for Take This. I think it was a very successful year. I'm looking forward to everything we get to do in 2022. Hopefully this time next year we're talking about the Lions and playing meaningful games in December. And I'm looking forward to everything we're going to get to cover. We got a baseball lockout. Going to have a bunch of Super Bowl playoffs, hockey playoffs, all that good stuff. The summer could be a real drag though if there's no baseball to actively talk about. But we got lots of fun topics we can bring up and fill the show sheet throughout the year. So I'm very excited, and I'm looking forward to everything we're going to do next year.
As am I, Griff. Oh, as am I. I can't wait. I just can't wait.
All right. Well, Brad, it's been a pleasure. Everyone who's been listening, thank you for supporting the show. We hope you continue to listen next year. Have a great new year, and we'll see you in 2022. Bye.